Last year at this time, I spoke to us on Rosh Hashanah, and little did any of us know what would unfold just 20 days after that. 5784 was indeed a great and terrible year, where we saw the entire spectrum of the human experience. Evil revealed itself in forms that we thought were resigned to history or existed as phantoms on the fringes of society. We also saw revealed, however, as we always do, the resiliency, defiance, strength, and willful acts of joyful service that continues to triumph over the darkness. And as individuals and as a collective, by the grace of God, brings us here today to usher in a new year. By being in shul and observing the holiness of this day, we are connecting to something much bigger than ourselves on a personal and on a collective level. We're connecting with familial, community, spiritual memories, recent and ancient, with the same yearning, hope, doubts, and fears that any new year brings. Because as I said in Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, there is nothing new under the sun. I want to talk to you today about these connections. Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks, of blessed memory, said the Jewish people, and I quote, "can face any future without fear, so long as we know that we won't face it alone." And the good news is, you don't, and God willing, you won't. At our annual meeting in June, I kind of mentioned some things about these connections, and this is where our strength comes from. Connections to a faith, a history, a people, a destiny, and this is something that our adversaries, in whatever form they take, don't understand, and that's why they continually fail. That, along with Hashem's blessings, are the reasons that we are literally here today. All of us are here today. The Jewish people are gathering today because no historical precedents or scientific explanation can account for it. Am Yisrael Chai. I want to share something personal about these connections and these things that bind us from my own background. On October 6, 1973, I was 8 years old, and we were living in Lindenhurst, Long Island. Shout out to Long Island. And we were members of the Lindenhurst Hebrew congregation, a conservative shul there. My father, Alav HaShalom, was president of that congregation. So that morning, it was a Shabbat morning as well. Some of you physically remember being there or being at that time. So I got up early. I snuck into the TV room. We only had one TV at the time, of course. Turned on the TV very low because it was Shabbat and it was Yom Kippur. All right? But I snuck in before anybody woke up. I wanted to watch my cartoons before I had to spend all day in shul. All right? Now, I know no one here can identify with that because this is Beth Meyer, okay? There are some shuls, believe it or not, that some people aren't crazy about staying all day, but not here. We know that, but just to get you familiar. Well, anyway, that morning, we only had 4 channels at the time. Obviously, cartoons weren't on. Now, I grew up in a very strong Zionist family. So even at 8 years old, and I remembered very clearly, I had a pretty good knowledge of Israel and its history and its challenges and all those things. So when I turned on the TV, of course, all this news was coming in and it was sporadic and panicky. And I'm watching, I remember very clearly. And I heard words I never thought in my Zionist upbringing I would ever hear associated with Israel. I heard terms like retreat, panic, chaos, fear, overrun. Those of us who are, by the grace of God, a little older, remember those were terms we never had associated with Israel or the IDF. Sound familiar? Okay. Well, we got into the car. Of course, I didn't say anything about watching TV because I was scared. And we were driving to shul, and of course, my dad turned on the radio, and the news coming in, sporadic, disjointed, and you can imagine in 1973, we didn't have all the technology we have today. And I remember him asking, what's going on? What is this? What's going on? And then I spoke up and I said to my family, yes, I saw it on TV. And this is the words I said. I said, Israel is at war. And of course, they started pounding me with questions. And of course, when we got to shul, everything had changed from what was planned. Now here I stand, 51 years later, as president of Beth Meyer Synagogue in eerily similar times. On October 7th, I woke up early, before my alarm, So I checked my phone, see what time it was. I subscribe to the app, the I-24 News. Some of you may too. It's English language Israeli news. They have, they have on channels on the cable and stuff like that. But they also, so you get updates. And usually every morning I get 2 or 3 updates because of the time differential between here and Israel. And this morning I woke up and there's something like 85. And I can't see what they are, but I'm looking at it going, that can't be good. And as I start scrolling, from the time that they started coming in until getting up to the current time, the worst tragic fears came true of what was happening on October 7th, as we all remember. We all have memories of that. I went downstairs and I turned on the TV, almost like I did when I was 8 years old. My wife, Jody, had woken up. She heard the TV on and understood like something wasn't right. And she looked down at me and she said, "What's going on?" And I looked at her without thinking, and I said, "Israel is at war." The same words I spoke as an 8-year-old boy in 1973. And at that moment, and I remember when I said it, I remembered, I was like, that's exactly what I said on that day. I was in 2 places at once at that time. I was experiencing one crisis and remembering another, but also feeling more connected to my family, to my 2 children, Sam and Shayna, to my wife, to my brother, to my sister-in-law, to my nieces and nephew, and especially to my nephew Ze'ev, who had just made Aliyah to Israel in August. I was also, though, connected to the memories of my father, my mother, Aleha HaShalom, my grandparents of blessed memories, their stories and their lives. Connected to countless examples as well in response of courage, heroism, and selfless acts of faith that then an 8-year-old boy bore witness to, and now a 59-year-old man would see repeated over and over again in this great and terrible year. Indeed, there is nothing new under the sun, including the aforementioned courage, heroism, selflessness, sacrifice, justice, and love. We're not going to leave the field to the terrible part. They may have their sinister moments, but we win the day. Our adversaries have always tried to isolate us, to have us live in fear, to diminish us. Now, I'm going to give you some things about our year here at Beth Meyer. As Rabbi Eric said, I'm going to talk to you about some of the things we've done. And you tell me whether they have been successful or not. At Beth Meyer this year, we thought big. We didn't fall back. We completed big projects that we took on and finished. The security fence, the kitchen project, which we've been working on for years, completed. The lights on the side of the field, completed, and many more. We strengthened our preschool physically and financially, and we are growing in members, not falling back. We made great strides for securing tomorrow, our endowment campaign, I can say, with growing confidence that we'll meet and, God willing, exceed our goal. Countless continuing education and Jewish enrichment activities we boast a vibrant, creative, and engaging sisterhood, a revitalized and robust men's club, youth activities, religious school, holiday and celebrations more well attended like today than any time I can remember. Baby namings, Brit Milot, Bar Mitzvot, weddings, anniversaries, holidays gatherings, special Shabbat gatherings to further engage our beautifully diverse community, and outreach that far exceeded expectation. Goes on and on. Security and safety. I am proud to say that Beth Meyer continues to be the leaders in safety and security for the Jewish community here and around the country. Last year when I spoke to you, we had one shul in the state of North Carolina that was a CSS. That's our that's the group we're a part of that trains our security team, which I and Phil happen to have the honor of leading. Now we have 5 shuls, 5 which have been trained by your Beth Meyer team. We have even trained our chevre in the far-off province of Alabama. Huntsville, Alabama, kol hakavod to Phil Weinstein, who I think is out doing a security shift right now, but he went out to Huntsville, Alabama to train our chevre there so they can have a safe and secure Shabbat and holiday season and make sure that their community is safe. We have grown our partnership with our law enforcement agencies, local, state, national. We have even been approached by communities of other faiths, other faith communities, non-Jewish, to help them with their security and safety needs. And we have answered that call, and we are working with them. We are preparing for 150th anniversary. Obviously, we're going to be learning a lot more about that. Let's put in perspective. When Beth Meyer started, Ulysses Simpson Grant was in office. And we've been here since, as proud citizens and contributors to the city, county, and state, and we will continue to be a blessing to our fellow citizens and neighbors. Our Open the Gates last year was the biggest, our Open the Gates campaign was the biggest and best in the community's history. And I challenge everyone here to make it bigger this year because, quite honestly, we need to make a statement, loud and emphatic. We need to double down. And I mean that literally, if you can. Double what you did last year. If you didn't last year, please consider giving to the Open the Gates campaign because there's no more meaningful and impactful way to say to the entire world, friend and foe alike, that we aren't going anywhere and our commitment and belief in the future is unshakable. And there is no doubt that if you choose to give to the Open the Gates, which I know we will, that the blessings and pride that will surely flow from your donations will be the greatest investment in return you could ever make, better than anything you could do in the stock market. Now, does this sound like a community in decline? Does this sound like a community in fear? Does this sound like a community in isolation? Absolutely not. I've got one more thing for you. Holding off to the end, this is breaking news. That's good news, don't worry. Jonathan Wertham, our executive director, shared with me yesterday that Beth Meyer now has reached the highest membership units in its 150-year history. We are now at 503 member units. That's the most in our 150-year history. Baruch Hashem, hallelujah. Again, does it sound like community decline? Now, I played high school football, and I coached football for a long time, and I wanted to give you a memory, just kind of wrap this up. When I was a junior in high school down South Florida, Plantation High School, Broward County, I heard some people, they know where it is. My junior year, we weren't very good, but my junior year, we got a new coach. His name was John Baer. He's a great coach, a great teacher, a great leader, and a great mentor. I pray that everyone here has a teacher, a mentor, a coach, a rabbi, a counselor that still can inspire you 42 years after the fact. I pray that everyone has that. That's a blessing. Well, when he gave his first pep talk, and he was an old school coach. He was old school in 1981, so you can imagine what that was like practicing and playing for him. But he could get us ready for a game, and he would give the best pep talks right before we got out there to play. He would get us fired up. So the first time, never forget it, the first pep talk, because he was different from our other coach. And it was a much different thing. And I remember we were all fired up, and we're getting ready to go out and play. And he said, right before we got out there, he said, hey, remember, before you go out there, know who you are, know where you're from, and know who you represent. That inspired us as young kids. Even in our teenage boy brains, I work with teenagers every day, and I know it's hard to get anything in there. I know it. We understood that Coach Baird was emphasizing that we are a part of something bigger than ourselves. And we are representing things bigger than ourselves. Our family, however imperfect, our team, our school, our community. And we have a responsibility to treat those with respect by always contributing our engagement, energy, skills, and heart so that these connections will continue to grow. And if we did that, then there was no challenge too big or insurmountable for us. I remember the second game, he said it again. And then the third game, I'll never forget this, organically, without any organization, when he was getting ready to send us out there to meet the unknown. The unknown. You practice, and you prepare, but there's always the unknown. And he said, hey, remember, and all of us, all 65 to 70 of us, players, coaches, managers, we all at the same time raised our fists and said, know who you are, know where you come from, know who you represent. Again, I still get chill bumps and emotional. 42 years after. You are connected to our collective, which is bigger than any of us. Beth Meyer strengthens your connections, but it's also a charge to all of us to contribute because the community can't grow without your engagement, energy, skills, and heart. So that when challenged, as you will be, you will not be coward or intimidated, or worse than that, paralyzed into inaction because, as Rabbi Sachs stated, you won't be doing it alone. It's our task then to ensure that we pass this along to future generations. Look around. We just talked about how our membership is skyrocketing. Look at our young members, our young families, our children. I pray that we can look in each other's eyes and say confidently, I did my part, that all of us can say that. I did my part to ensure that these connections are here for us so that no one today or tomorrow will have to go it alone. Beth Meyer, with all of its earned wisdom and experiences, will be there. We don't know what form Amalek, our adversaries, will take this year or the next 150 years and beyond, but if we seize this opportunity to connect the past and the future, then we will be able to face any challenges, answer any tough questions with confidence for ourselves and the next generations yet to come, because they'll be able to say as we can, loudly and with conviction, I know who I am, I know where I come from, and I know who I represent. Amen. For 5785, I wish bracha v'hatzlacha, blessings and success to you and your families. May we all find new connections to move our community, our country, and our people forward from strength to strength. Toda rabah, l'shana tova, chag sameach.